Hello, everybody, and welcome to a day in the life of me at PwC at the RMP Accountancy Virtual event. So welcome everybody who is joining us today. Really grateful for you joining our presentation. We're going to introduce everybody very shortly. So myself, Carl, we're also joined with Kirsty, Jess and Gareth, who will do a little bit of an introduction to themselves in just a few moments' time. This is going to be an opportunity for you to find out more about PwC. And what it's like in our shoes at PwC and how our individuality comes to life. So we will say at PwC, it starts with you, and that's exactly what we're going to try and demonstrate for you today. So thank you so much for joining us. So as a little bit of a quick introduction, my name is Carl Zegarak. I'm a Talent Engagement Senior Associate at PwC. I'm based in Birmingham. It is my work anniversary today, so 7th of October. So I've been here for a whole year today. Very exciting. No cake and candles and things like that yet, but hopefully later we'll see. What do? I support and recruit undergraduates and school leavers into PwC's business and also try and provide meaningful insight. So this is an opportunity for you to ask lots of questions, and we'll get to that very shortly with our panel. But I'm ultimately here to help you find out more about PwC and of course answer any questions around recruitment and ultimately welcome you to the firm when you do get recruited. So that's a little bit of what I do. If I was to describe PwC in a word, I always find this quite useful. I would use collaborative, because everything we do, well, right now you can see that in front of us, there's a team of us doing this, very collaborative effort from us. But yeah, everything we do is very teamwork orientated. It's good fun, it's social, and things like that as well. And I wanted to share with you one interesting fact about myself at PwC. Nothing compared to what everyone else is about to share, with loads of photos and loads of stories of their world at PwC. But my one is that I did a 180k bike ride in May time during lockdown to raise a bit of money for PwC Foundation. So great fun, and it's great to get involved with things like that. And I got loads of encouragement from everybody, a bit of sponsorship, and we raised a good bit of money for our charities, which was good fun. So you can have fun in and out of work as well. Always good. So I'm going to really quickly give a little bit of an introduction to our PwC and what that kind of looks like.
Limitless,
Rewarding,
varied, empowering,
pioneering, global.
exciting.
So just a little bit of insight there. So I've described my word for PwC, and there's a few more kind of there. And you can see it is very varied. Everybody has a very unique experience at PwC in terms of the skills that they develop and the things that they experience on a day-to-day basis as well. So always good to find out more about what it's like in the shoes of our colleagues at PwC. A little bit of how we are PwC and what kind of makes PwC. So I'm going to talk about everyday inclusion in a second, but some of the things that make PwC is our PwC professional. This is our competency framework that everybody kind of like builds their skills from at PwC. And ultimately, we're all kind of moderated against these as well. So you can see some examples here on the screen. And these are some of the things that will help you in the recruitment process, because we'll be assessing these throughout the recruitment process. But ultimately, like I said, we demonstrate these every day at PwC, and it helps kind of shape the way that we work together. So whole leadership. We lead ourselves, we lead others, and we are purpose and driven and values led and values driven, as well. So that's exactly kind of like we demonstrate that whole leadership. But don't feel like you have to have a leadership role to be able to demonstrate that. It's all about leading yourself and striving forward in your own development and things like that as well. Business acumen. So can you demonstrate your analytical thinking? Can you think of ways that you can be more commercially aware? And I don't mean you have to sit and read the Financial Times every day or The Economist every week or anything like that. You're very welcome to. It does help because it does give you a bit of a picture, but feel free to flick through all the boring articles that you don't have any interest in. Find the stuff that you're passionate about, spark interest in those, and that will help you demonstrate some of that business acumen and apply that to our people. Technical and digital. Can you engage productively in a digital world? We're doing this right now. You're here. So yes, I think is already the answer to that. So find other ways that you can build those skills as well. Are you global and inclusive? Can you demonstrate your kind of cultural curiosity and globalness, or your global awareness of yourself and others at PwC? You know, do you seek others to kind of seek out their diversity in the sense of their, you know, their perspective, their experience in the way that you solve problems? You know, that's one way you can really demonstrate that. And of course, there may be opportunities to travel around the world as well in the PwC network. So something to consider. And relationships, can you build relationships and communicate with impact? So like I said, spark interest in what you do, build meaningful relationships, be authentic, you know, be yourself. Ultimately, don't try and be somebody else. You know, be yourself, and you're very much empowered to do that at PwC. And that leads us onto this, exactly onto the next page, the culture of what we call our everyday inclusion. We're encouraged to bring our whole self to work every day, you know, always, and there's always people there to support you. So if one day you feel like you can't bring your whole self to work for any reason, there'll be somebody there, your buddy, your career coach, your business unit lead. All these people will be here to help you and do that. But our workplace is absolutely one of collaboration and teamwork, and of course that brings innovation as well. So we need diverse people and everybody to be included to be able to kind of demonstrate and build solutions to problems as well. At PwC, we solve important problems, and right now, for everybody, all of our clients, that's so different for every single one of them. So you know, we're guided by these values to kind of help us empower and do the best. And like I said, we call this everyday inclusion. We talked a bit about our values as well in the PwC Professional, but just as a bit of a refresher, it's around acting with integrity. So speaking up for what you believe in and what you think is right. You know, don't keep ideas to yourself. Do share them. You know, and share when you think somebody's not doing the right thing in an appropriate way, of course. We care about each other. So you know, lead yourself, lead others, and take that care for others, and make sure that you can support them and ultimately work together, because like I said, it really creates a diverse range of perspectives, people and ideas. And ultimately, this creates a seriously diverse and exciting experience for each individual at PwC. Okay, so I'm going to stop waffling now and give you an introduction to our panelists today. So like I mentioned, we are joined with Jess, Gareth and Kirsty, and you can see a little bit of their experience on the screen there. So I won't take away from the limelight, and I will pass over to Jess to do her introduction to you all.
Hi everyone, my name's Jess. I am a second year associate based in London Audit in our Embankment Place office. I'm originally from Leeds and I joined PwC in September 2019, so just over a year ago, after graduating with my Masters in Chemistry from the University of Manchester. Um, since joining PwC, I've spent quite a lot of time in college pursuing my CA qualification, so to become a chartered accountant, and then I've had bits of client work in between. I've worked on a whole range of clients, a whole variety of industries, and yeah, what else? So if you want to look at things a bit more chronologically, as a kid, I did not want to work in audit. I don't think I even knew what audit was. Um, among numerous professions. I wanted to be a hairdresser at one point, a fashion designer, and I think the most niche one was definitely a train driver. As I grew older, I realised I liked science, ended up studying chemistry at uni, as I mentioned previously, and there I picked up analytical skills and became quite competent with Excel, which is really handy in my job today. And then in my third year of university, during the Easter break, I took part in the Women in Business programme, where I shadowed a director who has since actually made partner, and she worked in the insurance branch of audit in our other office in London. And then at the end of my 3 days, I had an interview based around the PwC professional that Carl was speaking about before. I then got offered the job and got placed in London audit. So yeah, since joining, as I mentioned before, I've done quite a lot of college time. The way we structure the exams on the ICAS pathway here in London is that we do 10 out of 12 of the exams in your first year. and thankfully I had all first time passes, so I'm now able to just focus on client work, and I'm definitely enjoying not having to work and study at the same time. So I'm able to get involved with things like this, which is really nice. And then just on that, there are so many things to get involved with at PwC. Like there's loads of volunteering, loads of sports. Don't know what's on and what's not with the sports at the minute. But yeah, there's so many things. There's something for everyone. So you'll get to know quite a wide network of people. Um, so looking forward, I now have 2 exams left to sit before I'll qualify, and I'm due to qualify in 2 years' time. And then, yeah, reflecting back on the last year, I just can't believe how much I've learned in such a short space of time, and how supportive everyone has been, especially given the fact that I didn't come from a relevant degree. Um, so yeah, it was a really steep learning curve, but I was supported the whole way. Um, and if I have any tips for you guys that are listening today, it would be definitely to ask questions, put yourself out there, like volunteer for opportunities, ask. The worst someone can say is no or not respond. Um, and there's no harm in that. And then I think just around having a good work-life balance, make sure that you schedule all your time. So you know you are having some downtime as well as working or studying, especially given that it's all remotely and you could just be sat looking at your laptop for hours and hours on end at the moment. So Carl, I don't know if we want to move on to the photos, or whether, oh yeah, so I've numbered them for reference. So photo number 1 was the rather obligatory photo of of yourself on our embankment office balcony, where everyone put it on their Instagram to show off to all their friends, like, oh, look at my office, look at where I work, this is super cool. And the person that actually took that picture was someone who I'd met in the induction week, who is now one of my closest friends. And that's another great thing about the firm, is that you can really make proper friends with people in your intake. You get such a strong bond with them because you go through college together, you're going through similar experiences, and they're also another support network, as well as your teams and more formal sort of career coaches and buddies. I think the second picture was from our Christmas party last December. We had it at a place called Namco, which was just across the river from our office. Um, and yeah, it was like a big arcade, and there was bumper cars, there was bowling, arcade games. There was something for everyone, which is really fun. The third picture, which is a side slice of my face, was when our social committee put on pizzas and beers and soft drinks in the office for us on the last Friday in January, to celebrate it being the end of January, because everyone hates January, which is really nice. Nice to just have some downtime and have a catch up with everyone, as we'd all been off on client sites since. And then similarly, number 4 was something our social committee put on for us, just putting out little chocolates for us on Valentine's Day, just nice little sweet things. Um, Number 5 is quite an interesting one. It's the team from one of my busy season jobs in February. We were actually based in Maidenhead rather than London, so we were staying out there Monday to Thursday. So you'll see all our suitcases there. And this was the last Thursday that we were in Maidenhead, so it was the last trip we were making back to London. So we had to commemorate the occasion with a photo, of course. And then finally, I think is more relevant to today's scenario, is my new work from home setup. I recently moved house, so I've rearranged my desk and sorted everything out. And as you can see, I've got my laptop, got my keyboard and mouse there for me, available to work at home. But as you can probably see, I'm in the office today, and our offices are all open at the moment, so we have the option to go in, but it's personal choice. So it's quite nice to have a mix of the two. And I think that's everything from me, Carl.
Stuff. I love Namco Arcade. I just want to echo that point. Like, honestly, it's great fun. The first time you accidentally stumble in there, right next to the Sea Life Centre, it just looks like a normal building, and then you go in, and it's absolutely just like a nightclub, but full of arcade games. It's brilliant.
It's massive.
But thank you so much, Jess, and a lovely introduction. So I'm going to hand over to Gareth to do a bit of an introduction, walk you through his story as well.
So hello everybody, I'm Gareth. I'm in the Cardiff office, so not in London, which is a good thing about PwC. There's lots of offices across the UK. I'm a manager in the audit line service. I've been at PwC for just over 6 years now. So I started in September 2014 on the graduate scheme, and in time's flown. It's been such an interesting career to date, lots of learned sort of opportunities, which I'll get onto. Just before I start on my timeline, like most Welshmen, I love rugby, so a lot of my stuff's going to be rugby related, unfortunately. So my main hobby outside of work is just following rugby. Wales not doing too well recently, but in more recent times doing well. So, and also in the COVID period, I can see myself being more of a craft beer amateur connoisseur as well, because there hasn't been much to do. So they're my two hobbies at the moment, following rugby now back, albeit you can go and attend, and also craft beer at the moment as well. So just starting on my journey. So I didn't think I was going to be an auditor in a similar way to Jess. I didn't really have, I came from a background where my parents hadn't been to university, so A-level choices were quite difficult. So I didn't actually have, I suppose, anyone to, I suppose, relate to in terms of actually choosing an academic path. Thankfully, my older brother was the first to university, so he helped a little bit, but I did a real toxic sort of combination of A-levels. So I did chemistry, biology, business, and psychology, which is a bit of an odd combo, just because I think that just shows that I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I suppose what actually led me down the accountancy route was I had one module in my business studies, which was accountancy, and I actually thought it was quite interesting. So on that basis, then I went to Cardiff University and I studied accountancy. And while I was studying for my A-levels and degree, I think something that was quite important for me, learn how to work in a professional services organisation, certainly, is having a part-time job. I used to work in Tesco on the self-services throughout my A-levels and degree, and it was actually really good practice for actually going into a client-facing world, because you end up chatting to absolutely everyone and anyone working in Tesco from all walks of life, all ages, and it was just a really good way for me to actually, be dealt with problems with different people, dealing with them in different ways, because obviously different types of people from different backgrounds expect different, responses, service, etc. And it really allowed me to, I'm quite an outgoing person anyway, but it really allowed me to kind of understand and kind of react in the right way to different people's sort of bugbears and whatever, working as customer service assistant. So I thought that was actually quite a good thing for me. But yeah, so going on from my degree, I went to Cardiff Uni for an accountancy degree. One of my setbacks from doing that was I did actually apply to PwC to do a business placement year in my second year. And I didn't, basically, as you know, obviously Carl and his team will provide you with all the hints and tips, but sometimes it is on you to go away and prepare yourself for these events. And I don't think I was fully sort of prepared for that task. And I unfortunately didn't get through on my first attempt to get into PwC, so that was a bit of a setback for me. But then when I came to my third year of university, obviously that was a setback for me, because I really wanted to join PwC, which I'll get onto. And then I just really tried hard to, get in the second time, and thankfully I really did a bit more research and got in on the second attempt. So that was really a setback for me in my university career, in my university degree. But yeah, I came out with a first-class degree in accountancy from Cardiff, and then I joined the Cardiff office then through the graduate route, because I didn't make the business placement route in September 2014. So I suppose moving down the chain, why did I join PwC? So at the time, it was the Times 100 top graduate job. I know it sits around, I don't know, Carl have all the information on this, but I regularly were one of the top graduate schemes in the UK. So that's what really sort of guided me towards thinking about PwC as a career. And I attended various recruitment events and for other firms as well. I did apply for other accounting firms as well, just in case. But throughout the sort of process, I did feel like PwC was definitely invested in my learning, which has been sort of evidenced throughout my career, which I'll come on to later. But that was one of the main reasons why I joined PwC, because the amount of time that's spent kind of giving you guys information, people like Carl's team coming out and helping you guys, giving the information you need to make the informed choices. Just I felt that was the same then. I know it's the same now. Is that they were always the one on the campus that, you know, even just handing out leaflets or just saying, "Are you okay?" They just seemed the one more interested in, you know, I suppose my development as a person, and you know, I really wanted to join that graduate scheme. So I suppose in terms of what I've been doing, so I'd say I work in a small office in Cardiff. That doesn't mean you don't work on some big clients. So I've worked on all sorts of clients. So I've worked on FTSE 100 banks. I've worked on small manufacturing clients. I've worked on charities. You kind of work with a varied amount of businesses. I know that's the same with all the offices, but I suppose obviously you've got the, you know, a lot of people want to go to London, but it doesn't mean you have to go to London to work on big clients as well. So I do get to work on some big local clients and also on some national clients anyway, just because by the nature of some of these banks, they've got offices in Cardiff, they've got offices in Bristol, Birmingham, etc., Edinburgh. You know, you do end up still working on big clients, even if you want to go a bit close to home like myself. Just staying in Cardiff and working at PwC was absolutely fine. So in terms of what my degree gave me in my role, it did give me a good grounding, but I suppose as Jess mentioned earlier, is PwC kind of, even if you do a non-accountancy or finance degree, there's a real emphasis of getting you up to speed, and the training is quite comparable. So even if you haven't done an accountancy degree, you can still join PwC and they try everything they can, you know, really early on to make sure that there's an even keel going forward. So I think that's you know, the experience I've had with other people I've worked with. And what's good is, you know, people from outside of the degrees of accountancy bring in a different perspective as well, and that's definitely the case. It's maybe some more analytical sort of point of view, but it's definitely, you know, people I've worked with from different spheres of their education have brought in much different experiences. So it is really embraced. So don't worry if you haven't done an accountancy degree. I suppose as PwC makes sure that, you know, you're up to date. So yeah, so for me, I just worked on various different jobs. I suppose one of the key things for me is the investment in your development. So there's quite a lot of emphasis on sort of your own personal development, and PwC has like a 1 to 5 year plan. So what that is it kind of guides your career from year 1 to 5. So that's pretty much you know, from your early years at PwC to try and prepare you ready to be a manager. So I was luckily, with support of my senior team, I was able to start as an associate and in 5 years become a manager. So that's quite you know, quite a steep curve, I suppose, but also at the same time, you know, lots of opportunities to develop, lots of opportunities to learn, which allowed me to achieve that goal of becoming a manager in 5 years. So I'd say that was my key sort of achievement. My key achievement at PwC is being able to, I suppose, rise the ranks quickly, but also having that support and opportunities to do so. So I think the one thing that surprised me about the career, if I was to go on to that, the one thing that surprised me about the career is kind of that every day is different. So like I said, I worked on lots of different clients. One day I might be doing a presentation like this. I've been tutoring a course for juniors this week as well. So it's not just all about the client side. Some things Jess mentioned in her photos, and I've got some photos as well. You know, it's not all about just the work. You're not sat at the same desk every day, as you can see by us now in all different places. It's very, very varied work, and that's what makes it interesting. And that's why I've stayed around for so long, is because I have enjoyed that varied work, doing different things, being able to make a difference in different spheres has been helpful. I would say one of the key things for me that I learned really quick, as something Jess mentioned, is there's no silly questions. So that also helps you kind of develop. So I ask questions every single day still to senior people, and it's embraced. And you know, I always, so you know, I've got, when you become a manager, you also become a career coach, or people manager used to be called, and that's where you're supporting junior team members as well through their career. And I always just say, there's no silly questions, because most of the time, especially if you're in an environment where we're virtual, we really need to speak out, because sometimes as well, if you're in a team, if one person's thinking it, other people might think that as well. So it's good just to raise your thoughts. And I'd say another key thing is just that challenge point. So just because like what PwC is, you are encouraged to challenge what's wrong. I think that's what Carl, you know, something from Carl touched on earlier, is I felt that's the same to anyone. So even partners and directors and those senior people, they welcome challenge. They welcome you bringing a fresh perspective. And just because someone senior said something, and you might think actually that's not quite right, they embrace and they acknowledge that, you know, you have the right to do that, and it's embraced. If that makes sense, if you have something relevant to say, that they want you to say it, because a lot of the time we're close to the work as more junior members team anyway, so they embrace that change and that challenge. I'd say the most difficult thing about the job for me currently is probably the COVID world that we live in, but I think PwC has prepared us really well for that. We've got lots of technology tools that allow us to sort of, I suppose, succeed in this environment, and there's been quite a lot of tools we've used and our clients have been really happy with to allow us to, this remote working has actually worked okay and quite well really in real difficult times because we've invested in the technology. PwC was quite prepared for this, so my job didn't change that much overnight. It's just that the clients needed a bit more support, but actually for us as PwC, we had all the technology in place, and within 24 hours we were all working from home, and there was, most things were fine. Yeah, things were a little bit challenging in terms of things we might have done in person. What's the new way of doing it? For sharing screens, having virtual meetings like this, just everything has been quite easy, I suppose, on our side. I think it's just more liaising with the client, how we can align those things, being a bit challenging, but the clients themselves are coming to terms with that as well. So I think currently things are a lot better. So I think that would be the most challenging at the moment, is just juggling that. I'd say my tips to you guys, from my experience, is, as I said, just find as much as you can. You've got lots of resources, events like this. You've got, I'm sure, there's lots of events at universities or whatever as well. So I would just say, just make the most of it and do your research as well, because it's worth it. So just spend that extra couple of hours that I didn't in my second year. If I didn't apply for the business placement and I'd applied to the graduate scheme and took that point of view, I might not have never gone into PwC. So it is just worth taking that, doing your research, making sure you're fully prepared, using all the things that PwC provide for you even before you apply. It's just really beneficial. So that'd be my key tip, really. So I suppose going on to my slides now, my photos. So the good thing, one of the best thing about PwC, so I'm going to start from the top left. So the good thing about PwC is you can be who you want to be. So I'm quite a laid back person at times. So there's me just sat in my beanbag at a client site doing a bit of work. So I think that's a good photo just to show that, it is fun, like there is fun elements and stuff like that does happen. So yeah, so I think although you are behind the laptop, you do go to client sites, and there is a bit of fun. You're working in small teams. You get to know your teams. Jess mentioned earlier, you get friends for life. So you start with a year group, and you kind of get your friends for life. So moving over to my next photos is me with my in a factory. So a lot of time is spent at client sites, and you do get to. So the main thing I like about the job as well is you kind of in an episode of how things work all the time, because you get to go to client sites and go to their factories and go to their operating locations and kind of understand how things work. So in that photo, I'm in Nottingham in a boots factory. So I'm seeing how various boots items are being made and some other items. So it's just like sun cream and stuff like that. So I'm from the Cardiff office, but I'm going up to Nottingham and having a look around there. If I go down to the bottom left, the good thing obviously about PwC is they support you through your professional qualifications. So that's me at the end of my 3 years in my Diplbo. Very pleased because I've qualified as a chartered accountant. So it's a very steep learning curve, but you do learn a lot, and PwC fully support you through that. So through the best college, etc. So that was something that was really helpful. Just go into the bottom, the next one there, being a recruitment event. So like early on, you can get involved with help making a difference as well. So I just like going to recruitment events and just helping out and kind of sharing my experience, because it is helpful to hear from people who actually work in. So I do like to try and do as much of these things as I can, and PwC allows you to do that. Also in the top right then, as I said, rugby had to be related somewhere. So I am captain of our office touch rugby team. We're not very successful, but we do have a team. Unfortunately, COVID, we haven't done this summer, but we've done it for the last couple of summers. And that's just been something really good, just to do something outside. And PwC, have provided, the entrance fee, and there's budgets in place to support these sort of things. So they fully provide our kit. They fully, so there is support there for social activities as well, and not necessarily, that's something that we really enjoy doing, and we'll look forward to doing each week when the touch rugby's around. And then just finally on my bottom right is again just doing different things every day and a sort of opportunity to make a difference. In the bottom right photo, that's me actually going back to my high school, explaining how trying to make a difference at my high school, just for the same reason, just I didn't know I wanted to do, and just kind of giving them insight what we do at PwC. So going back to my high school, and there might be similar people in a similar position where they, their parents might not have gone to university. So I just wanted to go and give them an insight of kind of what accountants do and what PwC do. So that's really a tour through my photos.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Gareth. And I've been dying to find out where you were in that second photo. And now I know. So, but yeah, I think that's a great insight to share. Some of the clients and places you'll go and visit will definitely give you some unique experiences, as well as, like you mentioned, around working globally at times as well, which I think is fantastic. And I'm disappointed that you said the tag rugby team are not performing up to scratch. What's going on? Right, we'll pick that up again another time, I'm sure. But I'll keep my eye on it. Thank you so much. And last but not least, of our panelists, we have Kirsty as well. So hand over to Kirsty to walk you through her story too.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Kirsty Black, and I work within the Add Value Risk Assurance team. Within business operations in Operate. And if you haven't already guessed from my accent, we are based in Belfast, the wonderful Belfast. And I'm coming to you live from my dining room. So unlike everyone else who's ventured into the office, I'm staying at home for the meantime. A little bit about me. I have a real passion for languages, and over lockdown, I've taken up a bit of running, baking and cooking. There's a couple out of those three that I don't think I'm very good at, but I'll not let on which ones those are. So just kind of a brief history on my career journey, and a bit about myself and how I ended up at PwC. So when I was younger, I've always been a real people person. I love being with people, chatting with people. So when I was younger, I always thought I wanted to teach. I've always enjoyed learning and education, but unlike the majority of my friends and the majority of my family, they had hugely vocational degrees. So a lot of my friends did medicine, nursing, teaching, and for me, I always found I wanted that so much, but it wasn't for me. And so one of the challenges that I really had to overcome going into A level was, am I making the wrong decision? And I think at 17, 18 years old, it's a huge decision to make. It's going to dictate what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And after chatting with a few of my teachers, I just found I needed to focus on subjects that energized me. And so at A level, I ended up doing Spanish, French, business studies, and English literature. So very much arts and humanities side of education. And it was through school I actually did a placement for the Institute of Directors. And so we were placed in different businesses and different companies to kind of see how business works. And I got the airport, which I thought was the most unusual place to be placed during a business placement. And it was so much fun. I can't tell you how much I learned from it, because I think regardless of what company or firm or whatever type of business environment you go into, there's always people, and it's always the people that make the business. And so going into the human resources department or the controls department of the airport, it still worked and functioned like a business. I think the only thing that was different about that business was I was on a fire truck down the runway, which was, I don't think, a common occurrence in most businesses. But that was when that spark, that business spark, kind of really took over me. But when choosing what I was going to do at university, I thought I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna go with subjects that I love, and so I ended up doing Spanish and English at university at Queen's. And through doing this degree, I did a year abroad in Madrid, where I worked as an English teacher, and it was absolutely wonderful. It was the best experience. I got to work with a lot of different children from a lot of different backgrounds. And through the school, I ended up doing a lot of charity work. So the school that I worked in was from quite an impoverished background. So we did a lot of work with the communities and local places there. And that really kind of ignited a passion in me of giving back to communities. And one of my friends, she was studying French at the time. She was working in Luxembourg in a firm, and she came over to visit me, and she said, you need to go into a firm. It's you. And I think that kind of took me back, because I was enjoying teaching so much. I thought, this is it, this is what I want to do. But that advice and her looking at me and saying, you know, this, I think this is what you should do, I couldn't leave it. And so PwC were doing summer internships at the time. My contract in Madrid unfortunately didn't finish until the 30th of June, and the PwC one started on the 1st of June. But I applied anyway. I thought, no, I want to be on their books. I want them to know that I'm interested. And off the back of that, I actually managed to get a 2-week shadowing program. So I was able to come into the firm and go into different teams, and see what they do. So the audit teams, capability and development teams, and see what PwC's ethos is, and what they can give me. And I had done an entire year working in Madrid, 9 months of teaching. And in those 2 weeks, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in PwC. It was the environment and the people, and such a positive reaction to someone new coming in, what you could bring, what your different skill set could be. And so that was it. And I think anyone who's doing a final year degree, you need some form of motivation to get you to the end. And that was mine. That really was. And so once I'd finished my degree, I joined PwC through the graduate pathway. And a great thing about PwC, and having been in and made a network and had a few contacts, I was able to receive a lot of help and guidance on what the best way to join, what I needed to do, what I needed to research. And so I joined the firm. It was actually my work anniversary last week. So I joined just over a year ago. And when I joined the firm, my team actually didn't exist. So I was one of 2 first people on the team. And so what we deal with, add value risk assurance. So we deal with client and engagement onboarding. So if PwC want to work with the client, they come to our team and we assess that risk. We assess, are they an appropriate client to work with? Are they suitable? What do you want to do? And coming from a Spanish and English degree, arts and humanities, never in a million years did I dream I was going to be working in risk. But that's the thing about PwC. It doesn't matter what you go into. They will train you. They will give you the skills, the tools, the advice on really how to make the best of your situation. And the job was very fast-paced, very sociable, and very rewarding. There's something really great about coming into a new team, making it your own, putting your own stamp on it. And you were really free to do that. I thought, you know, it didn't matter what grade you were or what degree you did. All of your ideas were welcomed, taken into consideration, and a lot of the time implemented, because you're coming fresh out of university. You have a hugely wide perspective on the world, on the virtual world. And it's really welcomed and encouraged within the firm. My career for me is I'm very ambitious naturally, and so I really am always focused on whatever step I'm going to take, whatever decision I'm going to make. How is that going to affect me? How is it going to affect my career? And the one thing I've really found about PwC is that there's a very clear career progression. If you say you want to do something, or you say you want to do this qualification, or this is where you see yourself, people will try and make that happen for you. If you're willing to work for it, they're willing to help you on your way. In terms of work-life balance, I can't stress enough how much taking time to focus on yourself is important. And I think especially while working from home, it's very easy to not switch off, quite literally not switch off. And so setting aside time to have a coffee, you know, really take up your hobbies, see your family. It's so important, because I feel, you know, a 20-minute walk at lunch can increase your productivity by 50% by the time you come back. And it is really encouraged. And through a lot of events and societies and charities, PwC really does encourage you to ensure that you're okay. Your mental health and your well-being are at the forefront of everything you do and everything that they want to do for you. And in terms of my career plans, my biggest tip for any students is, don't worry if you haven't decided exactly what you want to do, because you'll never know what you want to do unless you figure out what you enjoy. And I think PwC definitely, for me, in my personal experience, was the perfect starting block or stepping stone to find that. So my advice would be to find your niche and absolutely go for it. Take every opportunity you can get. And so that was just a brief brief history of my career journey. So on to some of my photos. So these are my 6 photos. So this is what PwC is for me at the moment. So I think a lot of people that work within PwC or have been involved in one of the hundreds of thousands of Zoom quizzes over lockdown, be that in the office or outside the office, picture 1 is definitely what my day-to-day looks like. So for me, one thing I absolutely love about PwC is the social aspect of it, and a lot of my team and what we do is a lot of brainstorming, working together. If there are questions or things that arise that maybe you can't do on your own, if we were in the office, we would go in, grab a cup of coffee, and really work through that. And I think that's one of the things I was really worried about when working from home. Like, were we going to lose those connections? Were we going to lose those relationships? And it's absolutely not the case. I really can't fault PwC. Has been incredible in terms of really promoting relationships and connections. To be honest, if I look back on it, the virtual meetings are a lot more productive because everyone comes on time to the meeting. If it starts at 12:30, it starts exactly at 12:30. There's no running around going for coffees or grabbing coffees and things like that. So it has been hugely beneficial, and we've still been able to maintain that. Question 2, so that's one of my best friends in work, Hayley. So she actually joined the team in March. So just as we went into lockdown, it was actually the day before we went into lockdown, there were 8 new joiners to my team. So we've gone from last October with 3 people to October this year with 23. So in March time, we actually had 8 new joiners to our team. And a lot of the work we do, we work with quite a lot of systems and different platforms, and so it does take a lot of time to get your head around it. And if we'd been in the office, we would have been one-on-one coaching and training. So kind of adapting to that was quite difficult, but that's what I found my degree was really useful for. Doing a language and not having a right or wrong answer, you learn to adapt to change really well, and I think that's what a lot of different degrees as well can give you, that ability to change. But what we decided to do was, we were very good at keeping on top of our work and training, but we decided to implement a thing called coffee roulette into our team. So what this was is a 15-minute session, and you get assigned someone in your team, and you schedule 15 minutes each week to have a coffee, a catch up, and it's really a check-in. You know, are you okay? Are you doing okay? And also just to get to know people. That's the thing I love about PwC, is it's such a social and friendly place to work, that I love that aspect of it. And so this coffee roulette was a way for us to still maintain that and still really make those connections. And the coffee roulette actually was such a success that we expanded it out. So we were doing coffee roulette with different teams. And so it was a great way of seeing what other people do. And it actually got as far as the management team. So a couple of months ago, I ended up having a coffee with one of the directors in the firm. And we just chatted about life, how we were coping during lockdown, and kind of our career aspirations. And it really was just an incredible opportunity. And I don't think we would have got that had we not been in lockdown. So it's always positive to try and look for the silver lining, look for the positives that negatives can give you. Picture 3 is our new office building. So this is me looking forward, having a positive outlook on maybe a negative past 6 months for everyone. So I loved being in the office. I loved the social aspect of it, going for lunch, meeting different people. The thing I miss most is definitely the random conversations you have with someone you've never even seen before at the coffee machine while waiting for it to make a coffee. So for me, I'm really excited to get back into the office, and a state-of-the-art office at that. So it's definitely something that I'm really looking forward to. Picture 4 was actually taken in the London office. So on my 3rd week in the firm, I was sent off to London to promote our team and promote what we do. And it was a completely invaluable experience. It was incredible. So I got to network with a lot of the people that we'd be working with, and a lot of the people that I met over there, I still work with day to day, which really is fabulous. Picture number 5. So this was most definitely pre-COVID, with a big group of people there all standing together. So this is one of the things that I love about PwC, is that they're very focused on bringing awareness to really important issues. So this was a picture taken just before we did our Darkness into Light walk. So this is a walk we do where everyone gathers together at 7 in the morning outside the office, and we go for a walk until the sun rises, and it's for suicide prevention awareness. So what I love about PwC is they are tackling these issues head on, really promoting and bringing awareness to mental health, and it's something that I am really proud of and really proud to be a part of. And lastly then is the professional qualifications. So coming from a Spanish and English degree, arts and humanities, going into a firm such as PwC, and going into a risk environment, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. How are my skills and qualities going to be able to be transferable? And they were completely. But also, as Jess and Gareth had said, PwC are constantly trying to help you and constantly giving you the ability, if you want to improve yourself, better your understanding, and really better your...
Kirsty, I'm so sorry. I'm absolutely loving all of the insight, but we are drawing to the end of our session. That has absolutely literally flown by. I've really enjoyed getting all the insight from the three of you. It's been brilliant to you to share your stories. I'm sure the students will agree. Please do come and join us in our PwC booth. Ask us lots of questions. There's more panelists, lots of people to meet. Just encourage you to network a lot. But a big round of applause and thank you very much for sharing your stories to Kirsty, Jess and Gareth, and I hope you'll join me in saying thank you to them. But join us in our booth and we'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much.